Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. With your hosts, Jacob, Nick, and Ed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
Hey guys, what's going on? We are welcome into the first episode of my solo series. I just announced this on the main channel last week. Going forward, I will be grading every position group on the Browns, overall grades to the players, as well as grades for the room, should the Browns add anything, what you can expect from these players, things like that. And this is the first episode of that. I let Twitter vote, and they said edge was the position they wanted to go with first. I'm not going to do quarterback until we know Deshaun Watson's suspension, because it just changes so many things, with the outlook of that position and what they should do. So once a suspension is announced, I would say sometime after that, probably right after that, I'll do that series. But we're going to start with edge. We're going to do 2 to 3 players per position. This was edge part 1. We're going to do Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and Chase Winovich. What we think about that room overall. We're looking at these episodes to be just these quick 15, 20 minutes that you guys can get in, and some, with your commute or when you're working out or whatever you need to do, some just smaller content to kind of do an overview as we work ourselves through the dead period. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about our sponsor and our good friends over at Built Bar. Guys, seriously, I sought out a partnership with Built Bar because I think they are the best protein bars on the market. One thing with protein bars is they're usually like thick and chalky, and that they're protein bars. Seriously, Built Bar's not like that. If you are somebody that is having trouble with your health and fitness goals because you have, a bit of a sweet tooth and you're looking for something to scratch that itch, that's exactly what Built Bar is going to do, and it's going to do it healthy. I just did the banana cream pie Built Bar, and there's the Built Bar Puffs that have marshmallow in them as well. And dude, they are amazing. Go to built.com, BUILT.com, use the promo code BARKING, BARKING for 10% off, and help them, use them to help you achieve your fitness goals. All right, guys, let's launch right into this. We're going to start off the top. The edge room is probably one of the better rooms, at least at the top. If not, corner, I think, is the best room probably overall on the entire roster, for being honest about it. Because when I look at offensive line, I don't think of the offensive line as a whole. I think of guards and tackles and centers and things like that. Same with the defensive line. But at the top of the edge room, you would be hard to find. I'm not saying that Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett are the best duo in football, but I am saying that you'd have a hard time finding a duo that is much better. There's probably some duos that are as good and probably even be better, but you're not going to find a group that's going to be outrageously better than Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. So this is not going to be this super crazy wild take episode, because we're going to be talking about 2 established players in Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, but we're going to get into Chase Winovich and the overall depth of this room, which is where the question's going to be for most people are the depth. What's behind Clowney? Clowney misses time. Didn't miss a ton of time last year, but he missed some time, so there's going to be some starts there. So what happens with Takk McKinley's role? What did you get out of Takk McKinley? Can Chase Winovich give you that? Some of those things we're going to talk over now as we go in here, and I'm going to give you some projections, what I think these players are going to do as we go through these solo series. I'm just really excited to sit down and really dive into each player that is currently on the roster, even if they don't make it. So it's going to be 2 and 3 parts for every group. So today we'll see where we end up. So we're going to start with Myles Garrett. I want to start with the PFF grades and data on all of these players as we go through this. I just think it's a really good starting point, especially as you're looking at some of the statistics in the deeper statistics that go outside of like tackles and sacks, because there's a lot more that goes to that sort of thing. Now, I will keep in mind that PFF does not use half a sack. So sometimes you'll see their sack numbers aren't quite the same as what officially, like Myles Garrett's got 18 and Jadeveon Clowney's got 11. So they'll go back and change sacks based on the film and renewing it. Sometimes people get sacks that were never officially recorded. So there's a little bit of misconception when you look at some of this data. So Myles Garrett in 2021 with a 92 overall grade and 92.7 in the pass rush and a 70.5 against the run. He has progressively gotten better and better against the run, because I do think early on, like, he could make a handful of plays here and there in the run game, but really he wasn't doing a ton on that. And that was kind of some knocks on him. Was he a really well-rounded player? I don't know. Here's the number that is just mind-boggling. PFF has Myles Garrett at 78 pressures. 78 pressures in 543 pass rush snaps. That is an absurd number. I'm looking at those 78. Yeah, okay. Yep. You're going to ask, like, who needs to get better? Who needs to do more? Give me that. Give me 78 pressures, and I will just take whatever comes from the other side. And I think you will be in really good. There's not enough words and superlatives to use about Myles Garrett. So this is not like this crazy wild thing that I'm telling you guys about Myles when we look at this. It's just like, can he finish a season consistently? 2 years ago, it was COVID. Last year, it was the groin injury. And, I know people are going to say, well, you're just making excuses. And the year before that, it was the helmet. No, I mean, I guess if you want to call what I'm saying is an excuse, yes, but there have been reasons the last 3 years that you have seen some production drop off in the back quarter of the season. If the Browns are wanting to compete, especially if Deshaun Watson gets 8 games or more, and that is, and a lot of people believe 8 is the basement. So if he's above 8, you're going to need him not only in the first half, but in that back quarter when Watson is going to go up against the better teams that are on this schedule. You're going to need that consistency, that early season production that Myles Garrett gives you. You're going to need the back half of it to do it. So the only thing I can say about Myles is, can we stay healthy in such a way that Myles Garrett week 14, 15, 16, and 17 is Myles Garrett from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That sort of thing is the only knock that I can find on Myles Garrett. But we look at the stats: 78 pressures, 45 hurries, 15 hits, 30 stop tackles, a forced fumble, and a touchdown. And he played 755 snaps for the Browns this year. So, or this past season. So, I mean, what can you say about Myles Garrett? That is the only knock, man. One thing I would love to see is, we've seen it at times in 2020 where he attacks the football. I'd love to see him attack the football a little bit more. I can't remember who I was talking to on Spaces the other day. We talked about the scariest thing about TJ Watt is when he comes barreling around that corner, we know that he's probably going to force a fumble. If that ball is back and TJ Watt's coming over, I'd love to see Myles Garrett. He did some of that early in 2020 to be able to kind of find some more ways, but I'm not knocking Myles Garrett. Myles, you are a freakazoid. Continue to do what you do. So the number one in that room, Myles Garrett, he's an A for me. He's an A. I expect 16 or more sacks again this year, and that is what they need him to do. If he can get another 70 pressures and another 17 sacks, this Cleveland Browns defense will have the opportunity to be exactly what we think they could be, because we're going to get into some of these other guys. Because if one guy's giving you 70 pressures and 15, 16, 17 sacks and is drawing all this attention, what is the other side getting you? And that is what we're going to get into as we dive into the next people. So I'm going to give you an A right there at Myles Garrett. He's an A. Let's move on to Jadeveon Clowney, guys. So we are over on Jadeveon Clowney, who I thought was the linchpin to this offseason in terms of the defense. Because I think that what he gave the Browns, especially in the run defense area, was every bit as what we thought he could be last year. He's one of the best edge players in the game, setting the edge in the run. He ends up grading not all that well, a 66.5, 62.8 in the run, and 69.1 in a pass rush. But when you look at a production standpoint, he finishes with 53 total pressures and 9 sacks. PFF has him at 11 because they have awarded him a full. They don't do half sacks, and they will award full sacks for any part you play. 26 stop tackles, 32 hurries, 10 hits, the 53 pressures come in 422 pass rush snaps. He plays in 672 snaps for the Cleveland Browns in 2021. I need exactly what you gave me. I need 50 pressures and I need 10 sacks. I know he's never had 10 sacks. The 9 to 10, it's kind of an arbitrary as you're fighting over that right in there. But I'm looking at 9 to 10 sacks, somewhere in that range, and 50 pressures when the other guy's getting 70 pressures and 16. You're looking at these guys, if they can produce 15 and 10 and 25 sacks from the top of your bookends right there, in his ability in the run. How many times did you see a run play when a team tries to stretch it, tries to go wide, a wide zone, a pitch, misdirection, a zone read, whatever it is, and they're trying to get outside the tackles, and they cannot get outside of Jadeveon Clowney. He is not necessarily going to stop it in the backfield every time, but he may force it back in, and that's where those athletic linebackers, if those running backs have to hesitate because of the edge being set, and they have to hesitate where they're going, Jacob Phillips and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the athletic linebackers behind him, that is where they need hesitation. Set the edge, second guess, make them change direction, give the opportunity for free-flowing linebackers to make the play. He will always, in my opinion, his biggest contribution is going to be in the run game. And I know some people say, well, the Browns don't really care about the run game, stopping the run game, because they've showed it with defensive tackle. We'll get to that when we get there. But Jadeveon Clowney is a complete package that he's out there, and he can play inside. He is going to force mistakes on the run, which sets up his ability to rush the passer and Myles Garrett's ability to rush the passer when you're having more third and longs, second and 12s, things where you're forcing these plays where it is an obvious passing down. You could put all the pass rushers out there, run that NASCAR pass package, pin their ears back, and attack the quarterback. That's, to me, how many plays when they tried to bounce wide did you go, there's Clowney, oh, tackle for a loss or a 2-yard gain because Clowney made him hesitate. I love Jadeveon Clowney, and everybody knows I was just re-signed Jadeveon Clowney. I just think that maybe on his own, he's not as good as some people may say. He might even be good if he was not in Cleveland with Myles Garrett. What I'm saying right now, setting the edge, it would still be true, but it wouldn't be as effective. Because if he was leading your team with 50 pressures and 11 sacks, I think you'd be okay with that. But you probably wouldn't think you have one of the best pass rushing duos in the NFL. But when the other side's got 70 pressures and 15 sacks, that's where I think that it's Batman and Robin. We've heard the comparison a million times, but that's where it's at, man. It's Batman and Robin. It's a comparison that will continue to get made, that they're yin and yang. They feed off of each other. There's some sort of competition going on between them at times, it seems like. And I just think when one guy gives you 70, the other gives you 50, you get 120 pressures from two guys on the edge. And we're not talking about the guys that play when those guys are tired or those guys that make a spot start should one of them be down. We're just talking about the top two getting over 120 pressures together. For me, he's a B+. He's not going to be, I don't know that he'll ever be what the first overall pick makes you think he was going to be, but he is very, very good. And when he is the number 2 edge rusher on your team, he has got to be one of the best edge 2s in the NFL. At bare minimum, he's top 5 edge number 2s in the NFL, and having him over there, I think he's a B+, and I think he just really, really helps this room, take it to the next level. All right, guys, the last guy we're going to talk about today on our edge preview, grading the edge room, part 1, as we're doing some of these quick hitters as we get closer and closer, it's Chase Winovich. Chase Winovich only ends up playing a little over 100 snaps last year. There was this he's in the doghouse thing, which I wasn't aware of it, what was going on up there in New England. And so you see just a guy that, he plays 100 snaps, he gets 4 pressures, that kind of thing. So I don't know that you can learn a lot about that. Let's go back to 2020 when he gets 500 snaps and he gets 47 pressures and 6 sacks, 33 hurries, 8 hits, 72.3 pass rush grade from PFF. That's who he needs to be. Now, granted, you can say he only played 100 snaps last year. There were some injuries concerns. They didn't like him because he was a linebacker that was really more of an athletic edge. He was more of a Tack McKinley type role in a linebacker bodies package. So you're looking at this guy and you're like, can we get out? You swapped Mack Wilson, a type of linebacker that the Patriots use that the Browns don't, for a outside linebacker that was really a stand-up or hand in the dirt outside edge player on the line that is going to come bearing at the quarterback. And he's an athletic version. I always keep, athletic edge rusher. I keep saying that he is Takk McKinley. Let me show you Takk McKinley last year, 25 pressures, 3 sacks. If Chase Winovich can be what he was 2 years ago, it was 47 and 6. So you're just looking straight up, and I'm going to compare the numbers. Winovich played about 200 more snaps, 150, 200 snaps, somewhere around there, more between the 2 years, but Takk McKinley had those injuries. Winovich is, there's some people, I've seen some people just suggest they're not sure if he's going to make the roster. I can't see where he doesn't. I think ultimately it comes down to 5 edge, and he's just the only guy in that edge room that has legit production and experience in the NFL behind the top 2 guys. I'm not sure you would ever even start him. He may remain intact. Let's say, Clowney's out. Maybe Alex Wright gets the majority of the snaps, or they go 50-50 with Winovich and him, because I don't know that Winovich is an every down player. 6'3", 256 on that line. I just don't know that he's an every down player. He's only 27 years old. Last year was rookie contract. It's a really good spot. He's in a really good spot here in Cleveland to be productive. I think that he is the kind of guy that you put in opposite, or you slide Clowney inside and you put him out there and you're trying to deal with Clowney getting on the inside, and he's got that athleticism and that burst to get around the outside, and he's got some bend in him. It's some pretty decent bend there, and he gets around the edge and he gets into the backfield. I think as far as situational edge rushers behind the top 2 guys, you're not going to get a whole lot better than Chase Winovich. I'm not going to say he's the best edge 3. He's probably not even top 5 or top 10 in edge 3. You're just not going to get a lot more production. If he's able to do something like 40 pressures, 5 or 6 sacks, that's what you wanted Takk McKinley to do. And McKinley missed a little bit more time, but this is the kind of guy that it's like, okay, Myles is just gassed, or Clowney is just gassed, or man, that knee is just a little bit sore. It's the 3rd quarter. We're up by a little bit. Can he play 2 series out there? Can you put Winovich out there for a couple of series and let Clowney sit for, 20 minutes real time? It's one of those things that you kind of have to consider. And I think that Winovich he's probably a B- player. I think overall he's a B- player, and you're looking at above average players. Great to really good. Clowney is really good. Myles is elite, and Winovich is above average. So you're looking at the top 3 guys as guys that all can make contributions to this position. So of the top 3 guys, I'm giving them a B+. I'm not sure how you can get a whole lot better than that, except for if you get some kind of production out of Winovich's production is very similar to Jadeveon Clowney's. We're looking at this situation where I think the top 3 guys are B+. We'll get to the overall grade of the room, but it is around that as well, I think, as we march on through the offseason and we do those sorts of things. So I appreciate you guys for coming in, talking a little bit about Chase Winovich, Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett. This is kind of a generic conversation, kind of vanilla, not kind of out there, because you guys know about these 3 players and who they really are. We will we'll come back with 3 more players on the next time. I think we're going to alternate between some offense and some defensive positions, and not just do edge, some things like that. We're just going to go around making some fun. I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys will tune into the main show Tuesdays, 8 p.m. on Network 216 Twitch, and the next day on our YouTube and our podcast format. I really enjoyed doing this today, and I hope to talk to you guys very, very soon. Go Browns.